So, hello everyone. We are continuing with the series of I Discovered, and on today's webinar, I will be speaking on how you can focus on your business ideas while your integration process runs smoothly using TIBCO. My name is Živko. I'm technical consultant at Interworks, so welcome to my webinar. Today's agenda will be TIBCO software, TIBCO customers, EAI, SOA, ESB, microservices, why TIBCO business works, web service-oriented web service-based integration, and how Interworks TIBCO department contributes to a better software development lifecycle. So, the easiest way to define integration is to say there is a process of merging small parts or subsystems into one system that functions as a whole. In the IT industry, integration is the end result of a process whose purpose is to connect the different subsystems into one. But connecting, merging, or integrating multiple systems can be both challenging and time-consuming. In other words, it can distract companies from their core business ideas. So, how you can focus on your business ideas while your integration process runs smoothly? One option is TIBCO. TIBCO Software is a global software company which integrates, manages, and monitors enterprise applications and information delivery. Their software products include applications for coordinating business processes and activities, securely exchanging information with trading partners, creating and maintaining XML documents, and managing distributed systems like telecommunication or banking systems. Their software products are also called by the name TIBCO, which includes a set of products like BusinessWorks EMS adapters, Business Connect, and so on. For 16 years, we are proudly working on complex TIBCO implementation for industry leaders around the world in retail, transport, logistics, telecommunication, energy, and healthcare. We consider our clients to be our partners, and we never fail to deliver. Combining skills with innovative technology, we build long-term relationships with enterprises all over the world. We work with vision and dedication to empower them and make sure their business gets ahead with the skills they need and the latest technologies faster than anticipated. Our motto is that clients don't need to have ideas, they have only problems, and we solve their problems. At the beginning of the presentation, I have explained more about integration in general. But before we continue about TIBCO, I would like to say a word or two about EAI, SOA, and ESB, because these three are in so-called technological harmony. In other words, they are somehow connected, although these three are all different concepts. EAI, short for Enterprise Application Integration, is a framework that makes use of a software and computer system to enable data integration across applications within a single organization, while also simplifying business processes among connected applications and data sources. For example, if you're in the retail industry, it can simplify distributing and allocating products in online and offline stores. Sharing data and business process among applications are its primary purpose. In contrast to EAI, which deals with linking enterprise applications so they can communicate with one another by means of an intelligent reasoning engine and carry out batch data transfers, ServiceOriented Architecture provides transactional data transfers with no third-party software required. SOA is different from EAI approach in that it does not depend on a third-party solution. SOA primary functions is in the integration of services and the development of applications. Lately, SOA-based systems have become more common than ESB and EAI because of development technologies and platforms, as well as the changes in traditional IT roles and responsibilities. SOA is the preferred solution for business logic and technology. This is a solution mostly used by the big companies They have complex business processes that usually interact with various stakeholders. ESB, Enterprise Service Bus, primary function is to provide the connection among communicating applications, acting much like a router to control the data. Its common use is in enterprise application integration or service-oriented architecture principles. Microservices are loosely coupled services which are combined within a software development architecture in order to create a structured application. A microservice architecture allows the individual services to be deployed and scaled independently, typically via containers, worked on in parallel by different teams, built in different programming languages, and have their own continuous delivery and deployment system. TIBCO simplifies the process of building microservices and deploying them across the broadest range of multi-cloud and multi-device deployment options, including on-premise and platform as a service, also edge computing infrastructure. So why TIBCO? TIBCO is where business is conducting. Companies face multiple integration challenges that, when resolved, allow the connection to a wider range of applications, services, and devices. TIBCO's portfolio lets you interconnect everything and build a rich data resource that can be analyzed to identify opportunities and threats, as well as augment intelligence. TIBCO BusinessWorks maintain highly reliable, scalable, and secure service and integrations that are critical for their clients' businesses. With TIBCO BusinessWorks software, we implement integration strategies using traditional enterprise integration patterns to a modern cloud-based API-led approaches built with microservices and containers. So a zero-coding model-driven environment based on Eclipse simplifies development and complexity, helping reduce our clients' costs and speed client time to market. For example, our client, a large telecom company, reduces its cost by up to 20% and gets a ready-to-use solution for 6 months instead of 3 years, thus speeding up time to market. So highly reliable means that in order to prevent application failure and to keep the system running smoothly, systems are often configured and set in a fault-tolerant mode with a primary and secondary node, so that if an application on the primary server fails, the secondary server immediately takes over the control and to keep everything running transparently. Today, almost all the stock trading happens electronically, and therefore, its most important requirement is not to lose any order or execution received from either client or exchange. So, all sell-side companies will provide these trading applications and infrastructure rely on TIBCO for addressing these needs. TIBCO EMS caters the requirements by providing durable TIBCO topics, which holds the data until every subscriber consumes it, and also guarantees the data won't be lost during the network transmission. In other words, TIBCO makes sure no order gets lost, so you can be sure that your business runs smoothly. So scalability is the term we use to describe a system's ability to cope with increased load. Load can be described with a few numbers, which we call a load parameters. It may be requests per second to a web server, the ratio of reads and writes in the database, and so on. Typical application can be scaled in 2 ways, horizontal and vertical. For example, imagine you have a huge discount and suddenly everyone clicks on your site in order to make a purchase or just to explore your products. You may face a downtime, and that is why scalability is so important. Horizontal scaling, an application creates or destroys instances of an application. Incoming requests to the application are automatically loaded and balanced across all the instances allocated to the application. And each instance handles tasks in parallel with every other instance. Adding more instances allows the application to handle increased traffic and demand. Vertically scaling an application changes the memory limit that container platform applies to all instances of the application. We can deploy multiple applications with one Cloud Foundry and push command by describing them in a single manifest. Integration of different systems by utilizing service orientation of web services has become quite common when it comes to enterprise application. TIBCO BW provides quite handy and powerful resource for developing SOAP and REST web services. Exposing web services allow a greater reusability and at the same time, it allows exposure of endpoints for any number of upstreams and downstream systems. Web service-based integration also gives a greater power to the developer in order to ensure data correctness and increases information security by utilizing security measures like digital certification and password-based authentication. HTTP and RESTful web services are quite common these days, so the benefits from using them are lightweight, easy to maintain, scalable and flexible, high-performing, smaller, and consume less bandwidth, able to use without expensive third-party software. In many cases, communication between upstream and downstream systems and TIBCO layer is through HTTP channel where payload is transferred. When using SOAP web service-based integration, you have two options, SOAP over HTTP or SOAP over JMS. Which option you are going to use depends on various factors. We have several benefits from using SOAP JMS web services, like supporting asynchronous communication model, guaranteed delivery of message by using EMS persistence, delivery features, scalability, and efficiency due to queuing capabilities of the EMS server. Also, benefits from using SOAP HTTP web service are lightweight and also support multiple platforms. The reason behind the popularity of messaging service is the efficiency as well as performance tuning features. With a centralized EMS server, a lot of tweaks and tuning measures can be taken on the server to improve the performance of the system. Destination bridging, routing, message persistence, fault tolerance, load balancing, and many other features supported by EMS make it primary choice for TIBCO messaging. So, how Interworks TIBCO department can improve your software development lifecycle? Well, since the beginning of Interworks as a company until now, 16 years later, the TIBCO department has tackled a lot of problems and addressed a lot of software development lifecycle, time-consuming and efficient techniques. Every project is a story of its own. However, there have been a few things that were inconvenient across the board and were present in most of the projects. Few of the things we frequently encountered as problems were the lack of automation from TIBCO as a vendor, and we saw the opportunity to step up and create a set of tools that would decrease the time for development and unit testing, which eventually led to a faster time to market. It's more important to note that we increased the quality and consistency of the delivery code and unit testing for another level. So, common problems that we have identified. Development from scratch can take a lot of time when built manually, and it's hard to keep consistency across the teams. So we have created a solution. In order to speed up the development, we have created generic tools which require several configuration settings for broadcasting the desired outcome, producing the desired outcome without actually writing the code. Because there is a lack of framework as a foundation in TIBCO, which means manually creating the same components along with a decent amount of redundant code decrease the performance and usually adds dependencies which are expensive and hard to fix. This adds on additional complexity overall. This is why we have created a set of framework libraries like for BW5 and variety of common shared models for BW6 in order to achieve reusability, reliability, scalability of the code, which will assure that we give more value to our clients. As we all know, unit testing can sometimes be overwhelming when we are spending a lot of time in trivial aspects, which can slow down the development process. For that purpose, we have created a bundle of tools which produce unit tests. With only populating a dozen configuration settings for the different basic test cases we want to cover, the outcome is unified test bundle, which is ready to run in seconds. To put it simple, instead of creating 150 unit tests manually throughout the day, you can spend just 5 minutes configuring our tool and have the tests ready right away. We have used these tools with our clients and the benefits are proven. One of our clients managed to reduce by the development costs for up to 30 to 40% and nearly eliminated the unit testing costs. So to sum up, saving costs and speeding up to market is very important, especially now in the times of crisis when every minute and every cent counts. This is why choosing the right platform and the right tools is crucial. TIBCO is one of the oldest integration tools present on the market since 1997, and when you combine tradition and innovation of both TIBCO and also our company Interworks, you have yourself the perfect combination, a combination that can help you focus on your business ideas whilst your integration process runs smoothly using TIBCO. So if you're ready to free your time and focus on what really matters, don't hesitate to contact us. We would love to help you do it. Okay, so that was all for my presentation. Now we can proceed with the questions if you have. It's okay. One question pop up. How can you protect in order to avoid any server crashes due to heavy load? Well, in order to avoid server crashes, you can set fault tolerant or load balancing deployment in TIBCO. That's how you can avoid server crashes for sure. Okay, another question. Can you do deployment in TIBCO without any downtime? Well, yes, I think if you properly configure TIBCO product suite, it can guarantee at least 99% availability throughout the year. With other words, that means 4 hours of downtime. So without zero loss of data, of course. Another question I see. What in EMS is non-resistant or persistent queue? Well, persistent queue in EMS is storing the messages in that database or the disk, so that can be the data can be retrieved later or at any point when consumers are available. And when the messages are not stored on the disk or database, then it's not persistent. In EMS, the messages will remain until reaching their expiration limit. Another question I see here. Well, has integration changed during COVID-19? Yes, how? Well, as we all know, coronavirus has a huge impact on the economy over all the world. So people were restricted, as you know, from buying products from physical stores. And those companies who haven't implemented online purchase were somehow forced to implement. So IT faced increased demand following the online e-commerce trends, which in turn led to a higher volume of work throughout the online tools. Especially companies that work with food delivery, for example, have raised their demand for up to 3 times. So yes, also integration here helped a lot with making this all possible without any delays and everything. Another question. Okay. What industries in TIBCO mostly used in? Well, TIBCO is almost everywhere, but most of the companies that use TIBCO are in airline industries, telecommunication, healthcare, banking industry. As far as I know, Interworks has worked on many integration projects in the past 16 years, in many different industries like telecommunication, retail, transport and logistics, energy, healthcare, and so on. So, yeah, TIBCO can be found almost everywhere. Okay, I'll be waiting for some other questions if there are. A few minutes more. Okay, if you don't have any more questions, I would like to thank you for your presence. I hope you enjoyed this webinar and see you next time. Have a good day and bye.